In the market for a classic saloon car but don't want a Jaguar or a Mercedes? Perhaps you're looking for something a little bit more left field. Thankfully, I've got you covered with a car to my right. Hello and welcome to the Audi 100. Yes, today you join me with this delightfully charming 1975 Audi 100 LS. And we're going to have a proper look around it, inside and out, under the bonnet, and we're going to get it out on the road, and I'm going to talk to you a little bit about why this is actually quite an interesting and significant car for the brand, even though you may never have heard of it. So let's crack on. When you think of Audi, what do you likely think of? Well, I'd probably say highly strung, over-engineered, prim and proper, no-nonsense cars. Executive saloons, SUVs, the occasional sports car, and maybe even a hatchback thrown in for good mix. What you're probably not thinking of is baby blue saloon cars adorned in chrome, velour upholstery, and wing-mounted mirrors. But it's actually cars like this that gave them their start. As plausible as it sounds, Audi didn't just spawn in out of nowhere in the 1990s somewhere in a German factory funded by private equity as some corporate conglomerate, and they've actually got quite a lengthy and checkered past dating back to around 1909. I'm not going to go fully in depth with that here because I'll bore you all to death, and I don't think there's enough daylight left this week to do so. Long and short of it is this: they started in around 1909 as Audi. They were merged with about 3 or 4 different companies throughout the 20th century, and for a big bulk of their time were known as Auto Union. They were merged with NSU at one point before being reintroduced as the Audi we know and love in 1965, at which point Volkswagen had a heavy stake in the business. Having been properly reintroduced in the mid-1960s, Audi needed to do something big. They needed a stellar model to get the Audi name back into buyers' mouths and, most importantly, get themselves into buyers' wallets. And that they did with this, the Audi 100. Introduced in 1968, the Audi 100 would go on to become a legend for the brand. It did its job perfectly and was the most commercially viable Audi there had ever been. Manufactured firmly into the 1990s, the 100 cemented Audi as a thoroughly good car maker. As I said, it did its job marvellously and opened them up to a wealth of new buyers. This was the first model of Audi ever sold in the United States. It was sold in South Africa. Pretty much every corner of the globe you could get yourself an Audi 100. They were made in 4 key generations, the C1, 2, 3 and 4, and this particular example is the original, the iconic C1 or F104. I argue it to be the best of the bunch. The genesis of it all really, the C1 generation, as I say, I think is the best of the bunch, and buyers seem to agree with me. Produced from 1968 until 1976, 830,000 or thereabouts of the Audi 100 C1 generation were sold. They were available in a few different body styles. There was the 4-door saloon, the 2-door saloon, and the sportier coupe with a slightly bigger engine, but it was this, the 4-door saloon, that really seemed to resonate with people, with around 800,000 of them being sold in that production period. I think a lot of why it was so successful came down to its ability to be modern and advanced, yet somewhat familiar. There's definitely a touch of the old Eastern Bloc about the design of this car, and yet the engine was very cleverly developed, it was well laid out inside, and it was quite a modern thing to drive for its era. Inside the Audi is a very nice place to be indeed. You can see they'd already got into their stride with making high quality interiors by the 1960s. Good quality upholstery front and rear, and space for 5 passengers with plenty in the way of leg and headroom. I've got loads of room up here, and if you look at this front seat passenger, he's got acres of space, and it's pretty much the same story in the back. It's a really nice level of fit and finish in here, and as I say, it just remains a very nice place to be. I love this really nice wood finished gauge cluster with little things, little touches like the shift pattern being on one of the gauges. It's just got a nice level of charm to it. I really like it in here. Under the bonnet of your Audi 100, you had pretty much one main choice, this 1760cc 4-cylinder engine, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. An overwhelming majority of these cars would have been fitted with this throughout its first generation, and it was a very good and quite advanced engine for its time. As the name of the model suggests, it was good for around 100 horsepower in its original form, 10.9 seconds to 60, and a top speed of somewhere around 107 miles an hour. Certainly not a speed machine, but enough to keep up with traffic of the time and even traffic of today. As you'll notice, it's mounted incredibly far forward in the car. It pretty much ends about here, which means you've got all of this space for a crossmember, and the gearbox, as the drive shafts come directly off of the gearbox. It's a very unusual setup, but it's one that Audi is pretty much stuck with today, even if you look at the more modern A4 saloons, which are effectively distant relatives of this car, they use a very similar setup. Gearboxes, you had two choices really. The majority of cars were fitted with this, the 4-speed all synchromesh manual gearbox, before a 3-speed automatic was introduced later into the lineup. So naturally, this being Britain, I managed to have caught a lovely rainstorm as I've hopped in the Audi. Nonetheless, we're going to get it out on the road and I'm going to talk to you a little bit about what it's like to drive. So let's get on with it. What can I say about the Audi 100 LS on the road? Well, to put it bluntly, it's an overwhelmingly lovely car to drive. It's got such an endearing nature to it. It feels really a charming thing. It's very lovable and it's not clinical. It's got a lot of character, unlike the modern executive Audi saloon cars of today. No, it's not as well put together as, say, a Mercedes or BMW of the era, but I think I prefer it. It's a little bit more fun, so to speak. I've got a lovely little 1.8 litre 4-cylinder engine up in front of me, and I'm right in front of me. The engine sits almost hanging out the front grille of the car. It's a good engine. It's certainly not gutless, but it's not what I would call fast or high powered. 100 horsepower, as the name dictates. It's enough to keep up with modern traffic, and you don't feel like you're in your own way. I've got a 4-speed manual gearbox, as was pretty much the norm with most of these cars. It's got incredibly long throws. Between first and second, I feel like there's a couple of working days. It's a nice box, though I would say everything seems a little bit offset about it. Everything's hugged right over to the right. It takes a little bit of getting used to, but once you're up and going, it's a nice, comfortable box to use. Road holding, I'd argue it leaves a little bit to be desired. It's not necessarily a bad thing, but this is incredibly wallowy. It feels like you're going to fall out of it going into the corners. There's nothing in the way of sharpness or preciseness, shall we say. The one thing I am very impressed with is the steering. It's assisted hydraulically and it's got a really nice weight to it. You get in a car like this with a big old steering wheel and you think it's going to be heavy and cumbersome and you're really going to be struggling to do a sharp little U-turn like I've just done back there, but it makes light work of it. And I think as a result, if you wanted to use this every day in a town or a city, you wouldn't struggle. It's a comfortable thing as well. Front and rear, the seats hold you very well. They're nice and spongy, and I've got absolutely oceans of room in here. Often I critique cars of this era with big old steering wheels for having absolutely no room for my legs, being really just disproportionate and uncomfortable, but that's not the case in this Audi. And for the passengers who haven't got glove box, they could probably stretch out their feet flat and still not touch the front of the cabin. It's a very well laid out thing inside. I'm pleasantly surprised by this Audi. It's a marvellous nod to where the brand properly got their start, and it's such a far cry from what they are today that it makes it all the more interesting. It's bringing a smile to my face, this car. It really does feel like it's got proper character. So then, the first generation Audi C1 100 LS. What do I think? Well, to say the least, I've thoroughly enjoyed my time with this car today. It's really grown on me, and I'd seriously consider buying one myself. I like the way it's styled. I think it really looks the part, especially in a colour like this. Inside is well fit out, it has a high level of fit and finish, and it's nice and comfortable. And on the road, it's got a surprisingly modern feel to it, even though it's got a 4-speed manual gearbox, which sounds ancient by today's standards. It suits a car like this incredibly well. It's a good driver, you can keep up with modern traffic, you could comfortably use a thing like this every day. If you're looking for one of these, I think you need to be quite quick on them. They're becoming ever so collectible, and they seem to have all but vanished off of UK roads. Finding one, especially in right-hand drive form, is becoming harder and harder as prices go up and up and up. People seem to be holding on to these things. If you want a slightly left field 1970s or even just classic saloon car, you seriously have to consider one of these before they become absolute unobtainium. The Audi 100 gets a thumbs up from me.